The Milwaukee Bucks lost 118-106 to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but ultimately doesn't even matter as much given the loss of Giannis in the second quarter. The latest on Giannis and recapping a disappointing night on a few different fronts in Cleveland.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What it do, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Bucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the number one sports podcast network, your team every day. I'm Camille Davis, an NBA analyst with the Locked On Network, co-host of the Technical File podcast as well. And I truly do appreciate you for tuning in and making Locked On Bucks your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. And on today's show, the Bucks lose more than just a game, with Giannis going out with what we believe to be a groin injury in the second quarter. I'll let you know what we know about his injury the night of the game. It's a couple hours after the game has ended here, so I'll tell you what we do know about that injury. We'll also take a look at how the Bucks responded in this game without Giannis, and also who to expect more of going forward if he is out for an extended period of time. What guys need to step up? So we'll talk about all that and more on today's show, but we have to start with the loss of Giannis because the Bucks lost, and that sucks, right? It sucks to lose 2 games in a row for the first time this season, dropping the 8-7, but ultimately losing Giannis means more. Like, during this game in the first quarter, I was just marveling Giannis and appreciating him. Like, in my game notes, I not wrote with my hand because I type it as digital, but I typed out with my own hands just saying, like, man, Giannis is spectacular. We are lucky to get to watch him. And then he had a groin injury in the second quarter and he was ruled out for the rest of the game at halftime. And prior to that injury, like at one point in the first quarter, it was 23-10 Bucks. Giannis scored or assisted on every single one of those 23 points. Every one to start the game. AJ Green 3 that he assisted on, a Ryan Rollins 3 that he assisted on, a Giannis dunk, another Rollins 3 that Giannis assisted on, a Giannis tip-in, a Giannis layup, a Myles Turner 3 that Giannis assisted on, that Giannis mid-range spin and fade on the baseline bucket that he had, and then an and one. Like, an impressive start for Giannis and ultimately an impressive start for the Milwaukee Bucks in this game. Peacock showed a graphic during the first quarter of the game that stated where Giannis ranks in various stats among qualified players. Second in points with 32.6 coming into this game against the Cavaliers. Second in free throw attempts at 10.8 a game. Don't ask about the percentage. Second in 30-plus point games with 9. He was tied for fourth with 40-plus point games in the league with 2 of them so far this season. He was 6th in rebounds with 11.3, 8th in overall field goal percentage shooting at 63%. I say that all to just put into a frame of reference again, one, how dominant Giannis has been to start this season, but also how important he was to this team in Cleveland tonight. But that's just a microcosm of who he is to this team. Like, this is a Bucks team that has been constructed for Giannis to maximize the other talent on the roster. Ultimately, this talent can also maximize what Giannis does, because we know Giannis plus shooters equals good results, generally speaking. And you have seen that in stretches for this team throughout the game. But anywho, the injury, which you all want to know about more on, he was injured during the second quarter. And I want to say shout out to Bucks Breakdown on the website formerly known as Twitter for catching that earlier in the second quarter with about 10:45 to go. Giannis grabbed at his groin after the Harris floater, I believe that it was, and the score at that time was 35-27 Bucks. He checked out after that before he returned later on in the second quarter with about 4 minutes to play. He had a couple of possessions. But then he was out. He was out for good at that point. And Doc Rivers made mention of the fact that Giannis grabbed his groin for the first time, he believed, in the first quarter. And Doc said, I asked him about it then. And Giannis said, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Then Doc said, I think he grabbed it again. And I asked him again. He said it was fine. Then the third time is when, Giannis took himself out. So Doc pointed that out to say, like, he thinks that this injury actually happened a little bit earlier on in the game. And Giannis just decided to try to play through it. And through playing through it, sounds like from what was said, it just kind of got a little worse there. Doc official report on the Giannis injury status is that there is no further update at the moment. That's the unfortunate part about something happening like the same night. Doc said, quote, we won't know anything until tomorrow. Didn't look great. I can tell you that, end quote. It's always hard to really try to figure out exactly the injury status given the Doc Rivers word. As Doc always says, I'm not a real doctor. We know he ain't no real doctor. So right now, what the Bucks are waiting on is just to see what the imaging actually says. We'll see how long this injury keeps Giannis out. From doing quick Google searches, it appears that groin strains can take anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, depending on the severity of it. We'll see what Giannis comes in. So I don't want this episode to be very doom and gloom because we don't know how long Giannis is going to be out. I will say if he's out for an extended period of time, the Bucks going to be cooked. They're going to be cooked, but we don't know how long he's going to be out at this time. And again, there's going to be more news as the days go on. Hopefully, we know more tomorrow, Tuesday, November 18th, on Giannis. And here's another thing. I think people are going to point to the numbers I put, like Giannis is carrying the team on his back. No wonder he got injured. And I do just want to say this as well. Giannis has the second highest usage rate in the league at 35.4. The only player with a higher usage rate that's played at least 100 minutes than Giannis is Luka. So you can point to the usage, like, man, his usage is so high. And the crazy thing is, if that held 35.4 as Giannis's usage, that would be the third highest usage rate of his career. He had a higher usage rate in the 2022-23 season when it was 38.8, highest of his career. And then in 2019-2020, where his usage rate was 37.5. So usage rate is high. Like, let's not say it's not, but it's not the highest of his career. Thankfully, a lot has been asked of Giannis, though. We can't deny that fact. But he was only playing about 33 minutes a game, 33.4 point game per game at this point, which is the fewest minutes per game Giannis has played since the 2022-23 season. Ironically enough, when he had the highest usage rate of his career. So something to keep an eye on. Of course, here on Locked On Bucks, we will make an episode as soon as we know how long Giannis is out. But for this episode, still to come, how the Bucks actually responded in the second half without Giannis, and then who do we need to expect more of if he is out for an extended period of time? We will talk about that right after this. But first, a word from our friends over at Rippling, because if you are a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier. But now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's just sad. Service as a disservice, and that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. It is seriously simple to use, and it gives companies one source of truth for their people, their data, and every single thing that they touch. So whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, and finance operations as one, or just fill in the gaps in your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnNBA. Learn more at rippling.com/locked-on-NBA. That's rippling.com/locked-on-NBA for 6 months free. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement of sports this season. Whether you're following the NFL, the NBA, or both, there is no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 different player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, including California, Texas, and of course, Wisconsin. I normally play Prize Picks every single night that the Bucks play. Had a ticket in tonight. And one of the things I love about Prize Picks is that if one of your players leaves early with an injury, the injury reboot saves your lineup from a loss. And that happened to me tonight with the Giannis injury. Definitely thought Giannis was going to have a big game, took the over on his PRA. And he felt like he was on track for it, but the injury happened. But Prize Picks rebooted it, so my injury was still alive. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Time is so valuable, and I truly do appreciate you for tuning in to Locked On Bucks. Thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Special shout out, as always, to the everydayers who tune in Monday through Friday. And the everydayers might know, should know, would know that generally when I do post-game shows solo, I like to bring in clips from players and Doc Rivers. That is the case in this episode as well. It's just that with that Giannis injury, kind of wanted to talk about that first before bringing in clips from others. That'll primarily be, I'll say, in the third segment where we kind of bring in a lot more clips from some of the other players. But I want to take a look at just how the Bucks responded without Giannis tonight. Because once the word came through that Giannis was going to be out, I was just like, hey, how are they going to respond without him in the second half, especially given the playmaking and scoring load that he was carrying himself in the first quarter? I'm like, he was driving the offense. So even the second quarter, the offense got stagnant. So I was kind of like, are they going to be able to create enough to win? Again, a tough ask when a team is built around Giannis. And when Giannis got hurt, Kuz had a really good spurt to end the second quarter. Like, Giannis had that tough take to the basket where he kind of slipped and grimaced. And that was the time we actually realized, most people realized, I'll say, that he had the groin injury. That's when he fouled and checked himself out. Kuz put that initial miss shot back, right? After that, Kuz had a couple more buckets. First, he had a catch and shoot 3 from Cole Anthony assist. Then he had a strong take to the rim and one made the free throw. He had scored 8 straight points for the Bucks at one point to end that second quarter. Ultimately, he scored 10 points to close the quarter once Giannis was hurt in the game. So if you look at that final box score and you see Kyle Kuzma, 10 points, they all came in the second quarter after Giannis got hurt. He had that spurt, and then from that point on, it was quiet. It was quiet for Kuz. I believe he went 0-3 from the field for the rest of the night. Yeah, 0-2 in the third quarter, 0-1 in the fourth quarter. Just not enough activity from him offensively in the game, I didn't think. But ultimately, again, it's a tough ask, right? But he flashed initially, and then it just didn't happen for him. One, just didn't get the shot attempts. And also when he did get the shot attempts, he wasn't able to convert. Also, real tough ask for him defensively with how he was running around the court. So thought it could be Kuz. Turned out it wasn't in this particular game, right? You get to halftime, only down by like 2 in halftime. So it's like this game is still right there. It is still right there. And the Bucks honestly had a valiant effort in the third quarter, even though there were times again where you saw the offense being stagnant a lot too, because the Cavs really started switching everything. So it was kind of like, if y'all gonna do something, try to beat us one-on-one. And the Bucks were able to make some hay in that third quarter. Myles Turner had 10 points in the third quarter. Bobby Portis had 6 points in the third quarter, mostly from the free throw line there. Only had one bucket, but 4-4 from the free throw line. Gary Trent Jr. showed some life in the third quarter, too. He was 2 of 2 from the field. Rollins had 6. Didn't love the shot selection from Ryan Rollins in the second half or third quarter as much. He's going to have to continue to figure out when to facilitate, when to attack, because I loved it a lot more in the fourth quarter when he picked his spots than I did in the third quarter. But that fourth quarter, speaking of, it just was an entirely different story from what was going on in the third quarter. The Bucks were outscored 26-18 in the fourth quarter. When you look closer at how the game flow was going, I mentioned how you saw the offense getting stagnant in the second quarter. You saw it in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, that's when it was at its worst. That is when it was at its worst. You really saw the ball stop moving. The Bucks were loose with the ball, so they were turning the ball over throughout the game as well. And then ultimately, you look at the numbers, like I said, the Bucks in the fourth quarter, 2 assists on 7 made buckets. Just 2 assists, 7 made buckets in the fourth quarter for this team. And this is a Bucks team that finished the game ultimately with 26 assists, 2 in the fourth quarter, 7 made buckets. The Bucks were 7-23, 30% from the field in the fourth. Meanwhile, the Cavs had 9 assists on 10 made buckets in the fourth quarter. They shot 10 of 18, 56% from the field in the fourth quarter. The ball was moving. Cavs were only 4 of 12 from 3 in the fourth quarter. The kicker was that Sam Merrill himself was 3 of 4 from 3. Sam Merrill was going off. Donovan Mitchell was going off really through the entire game. Did a lot of his damage scoring-wise in the first half, where he had 25 at halftime, finished the game with 37 points. So, yeah, Spider was a big load to try to stop there in the game. After the game, though, Kyle Kuzma was asked a bit about how the game flow changed without Giannis in the game. There were 2 areas that he mentioned, one that I've already mentioned, and another area that I have not yet mentioned that he kind of pointed out is like, hey, didn't play our best in these couple of areas here down the stretch.
I think we did a pretty good job. I think the thing that really hurt us was probably turnovers most of the night. We want to be able to try to get into the paint as much as we can, especially not having him. It was a little bit hard. We had a couple possessions where we stalled, or we might have posted up a little bit more than we kind of wanted to. But I think that, we're going to hit the tape in the next day or two and figure out ways to incorporate if it is a groin strain, right? It's the first time I heard of it, but we'll see.
Got to. He mentioned the post-ups, and that was a piece for me with Bobby Portis, right? I mentioned that he had 6 points in the third quarter. They needed him getting to the free throw line, generating some type of offense there for them in this game. So I'm not knocking him for that. But some of the decision-making, right? And some of the ways they just ran their offense was Bobby has the ball in the post. We are going to let him make the best decision, whether that is going to be to try to find someone else, get someone else a bucket, or for him to go and try to get a bucket on his own. And I thought that the fruits of running the offense that way weren't the best. It just wasn't the best. And when I mentioned the fact that you were seeing the ball stagnate, right, where it's not moving side to side, you're not seeing a lot of guys getting opportunities. You're seeing a lot of guys going ISO, taking shots early in the shot clock. It just got sticky, right? And when I heard Kuz mention the post-ups, I was like, I'm glad that he also kind of called that out, because that's not a really efficient way, I don't think, for the Bucks to try to run their offense. A couple of quick miscellaneous thoughts for y'all that I had during the game before we talk a little bit more about how the Bucks move forward without Giannis, because when else am I going to get these thoughts off, right? The first one I just want to say real quick. That Cavaliers court was so bright. It was so bright. I felt like I needed some sunglasses. Evan Mobley at the end of the first quarter with the heave, thinking it was the end of the shot clock, but it was still like 10 seconds to go. Was hoping the Bucks could capitalize on that particular play. Bobby did have a three to try to end the first quarter. Couldn't connect on that one. Another thought. Y'all know I love AJ Green. Derry Bird. Love him. His jumper, unconventional, right? That's probably a nice way to say it. Unconventional, doesn't look great, but he be cashing it, right? This is the second game this season where I've seen him kind of try to throw this floater. It is one of the ugliest floaters I have ever seen because he keeps both hands on the ball and it looks like his jumper form, but it's floater. It's kind of wild. Just keep an eye out for it if he throws any more floaters up. Unconventional, very, very unconventional. And if Jericho Sims is somebody who's going to be getting more playing time going forward, we saw him in this game start the second half with Giannis being out. Guys are going to have to throw him lobs. Like I wrote that as a note. Hey, got to find Sims on some lobs because he had a short roll. It was right there. It didn't get thrown. I think like the next possession or the one after that, Rollins did throw him a lob. And I kind of laughed, but that's another area where kind of missing Kevin Porter Jr. because him and Sims started developing some chemistry last season on those lobs. But if Sims is going to play, the Bucks are going to have guys that can throw him some lobs. So just some quick thoughts I wanted to get off before we move forward and continue the conversation about how the Bucks will have to move forward without Giannis if he is out for an extended period of time. So we'll examine some options after this because even if he's not out for a long time, assuming he misses a couple of games here. So it's like, who has to step up? Who do we need more from? We'll talk about all that right after this. Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, every day, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and EFTs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with the tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. This episode is also brought to you by Rugiet because let's be real. Making excuses don't be solving nothing. Okay. We've heard them all before. It's just stress. I'm so tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with the board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. Visit rugiet.com/lockedonnba to get 15% off your first order. That's Rugiet, rugiet.com/lockedonnba. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONNBA so they know that we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. How do the Milwaukee Bucks move forward without Giannis for currently an unspecified amount of time? We don't know how long this injury is going to keep him out. But again, hearing Doc Rivers say it doesn't look good, I think it's safe to assume that he's going to miss some time. Some time is going to be missed from Giannis. And when you have a team that is so superstar dependent as this Milwaukee Bucks team, when you have a team that has a style of play built again to maximize what your superstar does, but also utilize your superstar's strengths, his gravity to create shots for others, and then you lose that, Whew, how do you pivot, right? I think ultimately, and we're going to have a lot more time on Locked On Bucks to consider talking this through because this is the same night this has happened. Need to kind of dig through some more stats and think more of it. But first thoughts when seeing like, hey, y'all might have to be without Giannis. Ultimately, the Bucks have to play the style of ball that they've been trying to establish since training camp as Bucks ball. Have we seen them play Bucks ball consistently and efficiently this season, even with Giannis? Not necessarily, but they're going to have to lean on the principles of it even more with Giannis out. The question just comes from who is going to help create the shots for the others, right? Ultimately, Bucks basketball, what they've been trying to establish, right? It's a style of play where there's a bunch of 3-point looks. You're letting it fly. You're going to try to play some defense and use defense to create some offense. You're going to get out there and run and run and run. That was the whole idea and concept of how the Bucks were looking to approach playing basketball this season. And they're going to have to continue to do that even with Giannis out, which means, again, who is your shot creators? Who is your play initiators? It's a big opportunity for Ryan Rollins to keep establishing himself as a rising star in the league. Seeing Kevin Porter Jr. go out, super disappointing. Hopefully, he continues to ramp up himself. He had his surgery, I believe, on Halloween and was expected to be out at least 4 weeks from that time after having a sprained ankle in the first game and trying to get himself together, tearing his meniscus during that ramp up, and now out at least through the end of November. If you look at Ryan Rollins' stats in the 3 games that Giannis has missed some or all of, now with, the Golden State game, the Charlotte game that he missed completely, and then tonight's game against Cleveland where he missed pretty much 3 quarters. Pretty much. He got injured in the second quarter. No, okay, 2.5. We'll say 2.5 quarters. In those 3 games against Golden State, Ryan Rollins had 32 points and 8 assists. Against Charlotte, Ryan Rollins had 25 points, 6 assists, and 5 boards. Against Cleveland, Ryan Rollins tonight had 24 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds. And it's going to be on Ryan Rollins to continue to be putting up those numbers. Can you get us at least 20 points a game? Can you create for others? And he's going to have to try to find that balance, right, of when to score and when to get others involved. It's a thin line between, hey, we need a bucket. I'm going ISO. We got to get something going. And the ball's not moving. The ball has energy. Not enough guys are touching the ball. How do we continue to find that right balance? In addition to Rollins thinking about that and considering that, he's already been getting more attention from opposing defenses. With no Giannis, teams are really going to be keyed in on Ryan Rollins. So, of course, he was asked after the game on what to expect going forward. And I want you to hear what Ryan had to say about what he thinks he needs to do in the absence of Giannis for whatever time length that might be.
I would say just like doing my best to limit the mistakes. Knowing my aggressiveness is gonna have to go up a little bit in those situations. Just limit the mistakes. Keep getting to my spots. Keep looking for other people. I would say the main thing is just limit the mistakes.
Limit mistakes, but also don't lose confidence when making them. And that's been a trait of Ryan Rollins so far this season that I have loved. Make your mistakes at full speed, but have a short memory. Learn from it in that sense, but don't dwell on it. Don't be looking at the refs. Don't get down on yourself. You need to move on to the next play. The Bucks as a team are going to have to limit mistakes. Try to limit them turnovers. The margin of error is so small. They can't give opposing teams easy buckets. Can't even give teams easy buckets from bad shot selection, right? Because bad shots can fuel other offenses. And you saw that a few times in this game against Cleveland. But Ryan Rollins is the first name people are going to go to because he's been arguably the second best player on the Milwaukee Bucks so far this season. But the guy who I really think we're going to need some more from, and I'm sure fans are going to be like, of course, Doc Rivers, right? Doc Rivers. We're going to need to see more from Doc Rivers. After the Charlotte game, Doc was talking about how he felt like AJ Green and Gary Trent Jr. in particular felt the absence of Giannis a lot because he creates so many shots for them. If this is the team that's been trying to get up more three-pointers, and so far this season, they have not really improved the volume of three-point shots from last year. They're still kind of middle of the pack this season in the NBA. How do you generate looks for those guys? What sets can you run to get these guys good looks? After the game, Doc was asked initially, like, hey, how do you pivot? And he was like, I'm not really sure. It's right after the game. But he did offer some interesting perspective when reflecting on how the second half of the game against the Cavaliers went.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I don't know. I mean, it's right after a game, so.
In that second half, even just generating offense kind of.
Yeah. I just thought they start switching everything, and we got stuck with the ball, and that's what I would have done, with Giannis out. So we got some work to do. There's always a silver lining, guys. I'm telling you, I believe that all the time. I don't know what it is. It doesn't look good right now. We got Scoot out and Giannis out. That's not great for our team. But we're going to either find somebody or find something to run that will pay dividends later. And that's the stretch that we're about to go through. We'll be ready.
That's the hope. Because as he said, not only are you playing without Giannis, who all this was designed around, you're also without one of your other lead playmakers in Kevin Porter Jr. So it's a lot that rests on Ryan Roller's shoulder as a primary creator for this team. Someone else who you can look to lean on a little bit more, Kyle Kuzma. He's either shown up big or he's been kind of invisible in games. He's been a bit of a volatile player so far this season, kind of similar to Cole Anthony in a way where it's like when he's out there, you're either like, man, this is a really, really good game. He's adding so much, or it's like, man, he is really struggling today in this particular game. Like for Kuz, it's a tough ask on Kuz, right? Because there's so much asked of him on defense already, and he's going to have to continue the activity defensively while also providing a bit more offensively, ideally providing something consistently a bit more offensively for the squad, because the variables, right? Again, the margin of error is just thin right now for this team. So since he started, like his first start, that overtime game against Charlotte that the Bucks won, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. And you're just kind of like, okay, the four steals game. Followed that up, second half of back-to-back against the Lakers with 1 point. Tonight against the Cavaliers, 10 points, 4-12 shooting. Like I mentioned, all 10 of those points came in the second quarter. Something that was interesting to me from Kuzma was about his actual health. And I want you guys to check this out.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, it was for sure a lot. I'm glad it's over. I'm definitely glad it's over. I think I'm turning the corner with my ankle. My ankle has been rough for the early part of the year since I got hurt in the second game. But, getting out of this hump and having 2 extra days, I feel really good about myself. So.
I didn't even consider how the ankle might be affecting Kyle Kuzma because he missed the one game with the ankle, I believe that it was, before coming back. So it was kind of like, okay, Kuz is cool. But clearly, as he mentioned, it's something that has been affecting him. So after this gauntlet of games the Bucks had, having some time off should be very helpful. The last person is Myles Turner, who I want to highlight. Of course, the real answer is everybody. You're going to need a little bit more from everybody. But I think for Myles Turner, again, it's more defensively too without Giannis, but also offensively. And I think too his leadership, because he's used to playing a style of ball where the ball constantly moves coming from Indiana, right? So I think for Myles, it's just going to be a lot on his shoulders to be the leader, make sure that guys are doing what they're doing and leading by example, because he was asked about Ryan Rollins and what's expected of him if Giannis is out for a period of time. And Myles Turner used that as a moment for reflection on himself.
Yeah, I think Ryan's done a phenomenal job, but, it has to be all of us. Just me personally, like I said, being a leader on the team, I have to play better. I put a lot of stuff on myself. No one's more critical of my game than me. There's little things like I don't ever forget plays and, forgot to play down the stretch. That's in the big possession. I missed a low man like twice. And it's just little stuff like that starts to add up and whatnot. This game isn't always about shot making. And for me, you know, I expect more out of myself. So, you know, I can't preach to these guys and be sharp beyond it if, you know, if I'm not on myself. So, you know, I think accountability is a big thing in this league.
I love accountability. I love leadership, and Myles Turner is providing both. Now just need him as he gets on the court to put that to practice, be aggressive, make the right reads, so on and so forth. But the Bucks don't play again until Thursday, which is good news. They played the Sixers on Thursday, who just had a comeback win over the Clippers tonight. The Bucks will be taking Wednesday or Tuesday off, practicing on Wednesday. So it will be nice for the team to have some practice time before this game against the Sixers. So we'll have more information on Giannis's injury as we know more. For the now, I want to thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first listen today. And for that second listen, I encourage you to go and check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball with Josh Lloyd. It's the number one fantasy basketball podcast for a reason. So go ahead and check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. Truly do appreciate you for tuning in to Locked On Bucks. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with some more injury news on Giannis. But regardless, make sure you stay locked in to Locked On Bucks.